I'm Chad from Chad DIY, and today we're going to talk about building your own house and how YouTube can help. So we're going to start back about a year ago. I really started thinking about building my own house. I did a video I did a model scale what the house I wanted to have. I think it was 32 by 24 or something like that. So the dream was kind of working. We were down living in the Twin Cities area in Minnesota, kind of the suburbs. Big house, big mortgage, like most people, I guess. And I kind of wanted to simplify. My wife and we talked about maybe doing like a off-grid. We were kind of into all that, just a smaller place. So the wheels started turning, and so we kind of decided we wanted to move back where I was from, 3 hours outside the Twin Cities. Get some land and kind of start a simpler life. So probably a little less than a year ago, we started looking for land. We found 20 acres, which we really liked. It was in our price range. So there's still actually snow on the ground. I think last maybe March, we bought the land. And so then we kind of had to decide. We had our jobs and everything in the Twin Cities area, and how we were going to actually make this happen. So we had the land. We decided to sell our house or put our house on the market. Didn't know if it would sell or whatever. Didn't know what we were going to do for jobs. But as it turned out, we were able to sell our house probably within that first month. We sold our house, and I got a job sooner than I thought. The plan was actually I had 6 weeks of vacation for my job down in the Twin Cities area. And then we were going to build the house and then kind of figure it out from there, whether we rent an apartment after we sold our house. Ended up getting a job sooner than I thought. So all this time, as we were thinking of building, is when I really started researching and looking into, can you build a house yourself? Because most of the things I found is people weren't actually like building the house themselves. When they said, oh, we built our own house, what they meant is they might help design it. They picked out the general contractor, but they weren't actually doing the physical work of it. What I want to do is actually the physical work of building a house. And I got a lot of advice from different people whether that could be done, couldn't be done. Interesting enough, most people I talked to down in the bigger cities area, they didn't think I could do it, or they didn't think it was really possible with all the permits. People in the smaller town where we're moving thought, oh yeah, it's definitely possible. And as I found out, we only needed an electrical permit. Well, we need a building permit, and then the only thing that needed to be inspected was electrical, where we were, or where we were moving now. So we started the whole process, I guess. We actually started building the house, I want to say June, right around mid-June. And it was kind of nuts because they really didn't know what we were doing. But the biggest help was that we had my stepdad. He had a bulldozer and a skidder, and he was able to clear the land for us. This was probably the one thing that I thought maybe I could do on my own, and I don't think I could. I could have rented maybe a mini excavator or something, but after I saw what actually had happened to clear land, because it was just woods, 20 acres of just woods, you need equipment and you kind of need someone to do. So that I would recommend, if you don't have someone to help you, probably hiring out. Besides that, and actually we didn't hire that out. He just did that for us because great guy. But besides that, the only thing we hired out was the well, the septic, and we hired someone to hook up our boiler to our in-floor heat. So we wired the boiler ourselves. We did the piping for the in-floor heat, but we had someone make those connections. In Minnesota, you don't really want to mess with. I didn't want to really risk not having proper heating. That's one thing we were willing to pay an expert to do just to make sure it got done right. So starting in June, we started clearing the land, and we started preparing the slab. And when I say we, I'm referring to myself and my wife. Probably built 99% of the house we are now living in. So we were kind of figuring out as we went along. We did the forms for the slab. We did the plumbing in the ground. We did the in-floor heat, the PEX tubing. One thing about that, doing your own plumbing, is everything seems to be working now, but once it's in concrete, it's pretty final. So you want to make sure you get that right. Now I feel like I was winging it a little bit. I was talking to I used to where I used to work. I had I worked with electricians and plumbers. I didn't do that work, but I had them to talk to, and so I was kind of giving advice on a lot of this stuff. So I kind of had a game plan on how to do it, but it is a little risky doing it yourself just because that's not something that you can really do over, especially when you have in-floor heat because you have the tubing running everywhere, and going back into the concrete is just something you won't really want to do. But so we got all that set up, and so I had 3 weeks of vacation, and I started my new job on July 5th, and we got the slab poured, I think it was July 3rd. I had some friends, and and there was a few bumps in the road. The second concrete truck got stuck in the driveway, so we had to use a tractor and wheelbarrows, and but we got the slab done, and that, to be honest, probably one of the most stressed I've been maybe in my life was getting it ready for the concrete in that night before the concrete came, because I didn't really know what I was doing. And luckily one of my friend's dads came to help us with the whole thing, and he kind of pointed us what to do, because what I learned is, like, if you don't have at least one guy that knows what they're doing, it would be really tough to do a full slab. So we got that done July 3rd. Everything went well, actually, besides the concrete truck getting stuck. So then we, I guess, just started building the house. And after the concrete, like, it's just kind of step by step. And where YouTube really came into play with this is, before we did each step, I would just research everything on YouTube. I mean, without YouTube, I guess, I don't know if I could have built this house myself. I mean, you can ask other people and whatever, but basically, I would plan the night before what we're going to do the next day, and I'd be on YouTube, like how to frame a wall, or whatever it might be. And it just was such a wealth of knowledge. And I know a lot of people use YouTube for entertainment or whatever, and mostly I use it for kind of research. I know this is a big YouTube plug, but everything kind of before I do it, I always figure someone's done it before and videoed it. So we kept plugging away on the house build, and the biggest thing, I guess, about building your own house is it's an absolute grind. I mean, especially when I started my new job, I basically go to that job, you come home, and then you work every evening, and then Saturday work basically sun up to sundown, and then actually Sundays we took off. Day of rest, we just needed a break. And so basically 6 out of 7 days a week, we just worked basically full time for, I think it was about 4 or 5 months from the start, which actually is not too bad, but we did build a smaller house. So as far as recommendations, what can I tell people about building their own house themselves? What to expect? One, it's kind of cliche. It's going to take longer. It's going to cost more money. All this stuff is kind of true, but I guess the biggest thing is that it's hard to tell someone, and if you're not experienced it, is just the grind of building your own house. And it got to a point where we were looking to hire some of the stuff out, like when the drywall, like let's get someone to finish the drywall, but everything was such a delay to actually get someone to even do the work if we were willing to pay for it, that we ended up just step by step just doing it ourselves, where we'd have to wait 6 weeks to get someone in or something. And it's just like, well, we want to be moved in 6 weeks. We can't wait that long. So it just was, I guess just ended up doing it all ourselves. Some of the hardest things, a lot of it, I don't know if it's even hard is the right word. It's just time consuming. You're learning as you go. A lot of the stuff doesn't maybe turn out perfectly like in your mind you think it's going to turn out, but probably the biggest struggle we had was getting the OSB on the roof. My wife and I doing that. For some reason, getting that sheathing up on the roof, the first sheets on the roof edge was all right, but as you got higher and higher, and it ended up, man, that was tough. Where I'd have to like pick up the sheet off up the roof and walk it up there. That I think was the most difficult. I would say my wife would 100% say mudding the drywall, because that was kind of her deal when I was working on other things. She was mudding the drywall and finishing it, and that, man, I think she was gonna break down from doing that. Uh, that's hard work, and to try to get it to look right, it's really tough. And she did a great job, and we actually ended up thinking like we're gonna do wood ceilings, and every place that we're not gonna do drywall, we just ended up not muddy and taping it perfectly because it's gonna get covered anyways. So that was, those two things were the biggest challenge. But that being said, I think most people could do it. I think if you're willing to put in the work, you're gonna get that big payoff. Now, if I had to do it all over again, probably wouldn't do it. I mean, it's looking back at it, we've been in our house now for 2 months, so there's a little bit of distance. So it's kind of like, well, maybe that wasn't as bad, and I still have to build a shop now. Next summer, 2 summers from now. So it's, there's still going to be a lot of building in the future, but it was, I wouldn't say it's fun. It's rewarding. You feel like you accomplished something, but I guess the biggest thing is that, I mean, you can do it, and you look back, and now going forward, we talk about, other things we want to do in our life, and it's this like measuring point now, where it's like, well, we built a house, like what, whenever we think about like, oh, that'd be too hard, it goes back to, well, we built a house, what else, can't we do? So I don't know if this is meant to inspire. I don't know what I'm really trying to get across with this video, but I guess the main thing was I had a hard time finding videos of people that actually built their own house from the ground up. That didn't mean like they hired people to do it. So I wish I had more footage of the actual building. It was such a, kind of rush to get it done, because in Minnesota we were against the clock of winter coming, so we had to get ready for winter. But yeah, so I guess if you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comment section below. I'll try to answer anything you might have if you're interested in building your own house. And I have to give YouTube another plug. It's the best resource I can imagine, is to see videos of people doing what you're about to do. So until next time, I'm Chad DIY, and yeah, good to see you. Bye.